times keep changing within the 21st century. Lots of new ways to do old tasks have been implemented. But what about new ways to teach and encourage new innovations? The education system stayed relatively the same for over centuries and how it's been ran. But is it really the best way we should learn? When learning, there's usually four main types of learners: visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and reading/writing learners. Visual learners tend to learn better with pictures and videos. Auditory learners tend to learn better with hearing and instructions. Kinesthetic learners tend to learn better by experience, and reading/writing learners tend to learn better with words and instructions. I feel like with types of learners, it also goes into if they want to go in person for school or stay online or even be anonymous. But with all of these types of learners and how the education system is structured, there's many flaws. First of all, there's not every type of learner could be included for every subject, such as math. Usually for math, it's more approached with kinesthetic learners because you don't really see that many good visuals, especially when you have longer equations. It's kind of hard to draw pictures to show it. Moreover, you don't really have many teachers writing down every instruction step by step, explaining for reading/writing learners that can better comprehend with reading and writing on how to do it. And for auditory learners, sometimes if the teacher is talking while saying it, it will be easier. But usually for most teachers in high school, they tend to say they're about to write this equation and then say afterwards, which kind of makes it harder. And because of this, I feel like it starts to make lots of high schoolers and students in general start to feel stressed. Because if they start to not understand one concept in any subject, such as science, math, English, history, geography, I feel like it's going to start affecting lots of other subjects and when further progressing through the same subject, which can make students feel fairly stressed. Then we have self-confidence. I feel like when going in front of a large crowd of around 28 people around your age, as well as one adult, it starts to make people feel very nervous when approaching or asking questions, which makes not every learner learn effectively. Repetition. On the base of how the school is structured, I feel like how education system was originally made and how it is originally made was because they were trying to teach cultures and certain sayings, like you should wake up in the morning, do this, and then do prayers. But because how our education has changed and what people want to become, not more so of like labor forces and stuff. People want to become innovators, web designers, fashion artists and stuff. I feel like the education system is kind of old with the fact that they have strict rubrics to say you have to follow this task and this task only. It kind of makes it feel like if you're in a factory almost, where you have to keep printing squares. But not everyone wants to print squares. Maybe some people like circles on how the fact that they're round. Maybe some people like triangles on how they have three sides, which I feel like the education system doesn't really go over on the fact of how it's so repetitive. Then we have passion. I feel like passion and sparks have dwindled a lot when going into high school, especially within my experiences. I feel like getting a certain mark in general could demolish one's passion slash spark instantly. Because I used to like math a lot, but after going to high school and not getting a math mark I was pretty fine that I would be fine with, it kind of made me judge and become self-confident of my abilities to do math. And I feel like this is a big problem with a lot of people. Because with all of these strict marks and with people focusing on, oh, what you got rather than the fact, did you learn from this? Or how do you feel about this subject still? It's more so, oh, if you got below a 70, you're not really smart. Rather than, oh, if you got below a 70, maybe you understood this concept, but not how to do another concept within said topics. Which can make it hard for people to be passionate about more subjects. Finally, while talking about all of these problems, I feel like we should have some sort of way to aid. And I feel like lots of the solutions are fairly simple, such as them being to take surveys for students. I feel like having a simple survey to make students and to ask students on how they feel about a topic and how they feel about this topic could help students a lot. Because usually when you're doing a survey, it's usually anonymous and you can only see someone's student ID. I feel like it just makes it more safer to be like, I don't really feel that good about math. And I also having student surveys, I feel like it can make people, the education system, like understand more students. I feel like having surveys and understanding the students would be a better way to approach our education system. Next, I feel like having more diverse rubrics and more lax/open rubrics could make people have more passions and more devoted on said subjects. Because if you have rubrics that say, oh, if you write 3 to 5 paragraphs, you get this mark, and if you write less, you get that mark. I feel like it kind of forces students to write much for said mark. Because usually when looking through high school, a lot of people tend to do stuff for a mark, not really if they feel passionate about it, or if they really wanted to do it, or if they feel even happy about it. In fact, most of my friends usually just, when they get their mark, don't really feel happy about their mark. They just feel happy that they got it done and they got this mark. They don't really feel happy that they did this and they accomplished it. I feel like a way to also help is to rework marking. I feel like if we had the ability to learn and get feedback on what we were doing could help drastically, especially when you get a low mark. Like, to know what you did wrong and what steps you could take to improve on your ability at getting a better mark. This could make students more devoted and more passionate and feel more confident going to school. Because I know personally, when I usually get a mark back that I don't really like, without any sort of feedback, it's like, oh, I just got this mark. What would I do next? Like, would I have to try to change my whole work ethic, my whole style of learning? Like, what would I do to improve? I feel like if you have a simple feedback, or like someone just saying something, saying, I feel like if you just took more aspect into writing a bit more, or try thinking about having shorter sentences or having more powerful sentences, I feel like that can help me feel better about myself, or be like, oh, I just have to make my sentences a bit shorter, because it just gets boring when you hear a long sentence or a run-on sentence. Finally, having the ability to learn with more people and peers. I feel like usually generally people work better with friends. And to be fair, why do we have to learn from one person or one teacher when most jobs involve lots of group work? Because when you think about it, people that work in the library work with a whole team, people work in offices work with a team. There's not really that many jobs that don't include working solo. Doctors usually work in a team. Almost every job you can think about has a general team. So why, when we learn as schools, should we be learning as individuals or learning from one individual rather than a whole set of peers? Because instead of learning from one person's perspective, we could learn from almost 28 other people's perspectives of hearing how to do a math problem or why they thought of it that way. Overall, I feel like these simple solutions could help the education system improve.